ESPN just released their WNBA offseason grades for 2025, with the Indiana Fever coming out on top.
History was just made, and if you weren't following the WNBA's free agency, you're about
did not come to play. They are on a mission to win now, like 2025 championship season incoming. They were so quiet during free agency. And in the past 24 hours, boom, boom, boom. Re-signed Kelsey Mitchell to a max deal. Picked up Natasha Howard, bringing her back to the Indiana Fever, where she was originally drafted. And then they just announced a three-way trade, sending Alyssa Smith to Dallas and Sophie Cunningham coming to the Fever. This team in 24 hours just got exponentially better. Starting five, Caitlin at the 1, Kelsey at the 2, Lexi Hall and Sophie can duke it out for the 3, Natasha Howard at the 4, Aaliyah Boston at the 5.
to see why this is one of the biggest moves in recent years. In the first place, Caitlin Clark is joining the league, and ESPN recently confirmed that the Indiana Fever dominated free agency in a way that could alter the franchise's entire trajectory. But how did they manage this? Why are analysts referring to this as...
So let's start with the Indiana Fever, because they were awarded the highest grade of an A. So do you guys remember during the Indiana Fever's season when fans and media personalities were saying that they would be surprised if anyone wanted to play in Indiana because of their toxic fan base, because there was problems in the locker room? Well, all of that seemed to be pushed to the side because Indiana Fever has become the destination for WNBA free agents.
one of the smartest off-seasons in WNBA history. Stay tuned, because what we're about to analyze isn't just significant, it's game-changing for Caitlin Clark and the Fever in the third. If you have followed the WNBA in recent years, you are aware that the team has been
#1 spot, who to me is the most dangerous roster, is the Indiana Fever. I mean, what? How did they pull this off?
in a terrible rebuild and has missed the playoffs for 7 consecutive seasons. However, starting in the 4th season, everything is different. We're talking about a player who is already being compared to Steph Curry due to her limitless shooting range, elite court vision, and ability to dominate games on her own. Caitlin Clark is not just another highly anticipated rookie.
Experience the champions that have been added to this moment.
Yeah, I think that's kind of what everybody talked about when we were in the playoffs last year of, we really didn't have much experience at all playing in playoff games. I don't know what the exact number was, but we really lacked in that area. So just adding pieces of, players that have been in this league, they know what it takes to win, they know what it takes to get to the finals, they know what it takes to win championships, I think is exactly what we needed in our locker room.
But here's the...
She is a generational talent who not only brings elite skill, but also a level of star power that can completely change the league. The WNBA has been waiting for this player to transform the league. This offseason was crucial for the Fever because they couldn't just draft Caitlin Clark and hope for the best. They needed to build a roster that could maximize her strengths, cover her weaknesses, and ensure that she wasn't thrust into a losing culture right away.
Every person you ask in this league or past teammates that they've had, they only have good things to say about them, and that's the reason all the top teams were going after these type of players, because they know the type of asset they are in the locker room from a type of player they are, but more so their leadership, their knowledge of the game, how hard they work, and those were the only people that we were going to add to this. So just really fortunate we've been able to get a lot of the pieces that we've wanted. So that just speaks to what we've been able to build here over the course of the last year, but also to the front office and what Steph's been able to do, but also to the players that have, chosen to come here and are excited about it. And it speaks a lot to them too. They want to win and play in front of a lot of fans. And, it fires me up, honestly.
They did this by making all the right moves to surround Clark with a strong supporting cast while maintaining long-term flexibility to keep building around her. This is why ESPN officially named Indiana the biggest winners of WNBA free agency in the 6th season. First, let's look at the essential components they managed to keep intact. Aaliyah Boston is one of the league's most formidable post players and is only starting out. She is not your typical young star. Boston was already a formidable force as a rookie, winning WNBA Rookie of the Year, averaging double figures, and dominating the paint with her exceptional defensive and rebounding skills. When combined with Caitlin Clark, they become the perfect duo. Consider it. Because of Clark's ability to shoot from anywhere, defenses will have to stretch out to guard her, which will allow Boston to work inside. At the same time, Boston's ability to command double teams down low will force defenses to collapse, creating even more open looks for Clark to make those deep threes. The two could dominate the WNBA for years to come in the future, but Indiana didn't stop there. They added veteran leadership because you need players who know how to win when you bring in a young superstar like Caitlin Clark. This is where Danana Boner is useful. As a two-time WNBA champion and one of the most respected veterans in the game, Bonner is the type of player who can help Caitlin Clark transition to the professional level while also providing Indiana with another scoring threat on the wing. But that's not all. The Fever also added important role players to ensure that Clark has shooters and defenders nearby who can help her improve her game. Let's talk about why this is so important. It was essential for Indiana to bring in players who could make those shots because Caitlin Clark is an exceptional facilitator who does more than just score points. She finds open shooters and sets them up for easy baskets. With this roster, Indiana created a squad that isn't just strong on paper but also complements Clark's skill set. Clark is driving the lane, drawing defenses, and kicking the ball out, and her teammates need to close those gaps. Consider Ryan. Howard in Atlanta, another #1 pick with a ton of talent, but it has taken time for the Dream to find the right pieces to complement her game. Indiana isn't making that mistake. They're making sure Caitlin Clark walks into a winning situation from day one. Similarly, we've seen many #1 draft selections enter the league with high expectations only to struggle because their teams didn't put the right pieces around them. Look at Sabrina Ionescu in New York when she first entered the league, where the Liberty didn't have the right roster to support her play style. ESPN just confirmed what many of us already knew. Free agency is a hot topic. Now let's discuss how this compares to the rest of the league, because not all teams had a great offseason. For example, the Las Vegas Aces, the defending champions, failed to add important depth, and their roster isn't as strong as it was the previous season, even though they still have A.G. Wilson and Kelsey Plum. They didn't make the kind of moves that keep a team ahead of the competition. Additionally, Dallas made some highly dubious signings, including overpaying for players who might not even fit their system chemistry, which could cause problems for them, and they didn't improve as much as they needed to. Meanwhile, the new YG York Liberty stayed relatively quiet, choosing to keep their core intact but not making any major upgrades. And then, of course, there's the Indiana Fever, who absolutely nailed it. They didn't just get better, they built a team that has a legitimate path to contention in the near future. This isn't just about making the playoffs. This is about building a future. Powerhouse, and let's be real. Caitlin Clark is about to change everything. She's bringing in millions of new fans, generating more media attention than the WNBA has seen in years, and putting Indiana Fever games on the national radar in a way that we haven't seen before. That's why this offseason was so crucial. It wasn't just about getting Clark, it was about making sure this team is ready to capitalize on the hype and turn it into real success. If you're a Fever fan, this is the most exciting time in years. For the first time in a long time, Indiana isn't just rebuilding, they're building something real. A team that has the right mix of young talent, veteran leadership, and role players who fit perfectly around Caitlin Clark. And honestly, the rest of the league should be a little worried, because if Clark lives up to the hype, and there's no reason to think she won't. This Indiana team could be one of the most dangerous squads in the league within just a couple of seasons, but we're not done yet, because while ESPN has given Indiana the best grade in free agency, there's still a lot of debate about whether or not this team is truly ready to compete for a title, or if they still have work to do, because while they've already won free agency, the real question is, can they win it all? So we've established that Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever have already won free agency, at least according to ESPN. They've surrounded their soon-to-be superstar with talent, leadership, and depth, ensuring she doesn't have to shoulder the entire load in her rookie season. But here's the next big question. There are two main factors that will determine how quickly this team can turn things around. First, how well Caitlin Clark adjusts to the WNBA. And second, how does this new look Fever team compare to the best in the league? Winning free agency is one thing, but turning that into wins on the court is a whole different challenge. Let's start with Clark's transition to the professional game. Although she was a dominant player in college, the WNBA is a tough league with many bigger, faster, and more physical defenders. Even the best players often need some time to get used to their new surroundings. For instance, Sabrina Ionescu was heralded as the future of women's basketball when she joined the league in 2020, but her rookie season wasn't nearly as successful. As expected due to early injuries and the difficulty of adjusting